So guys, thanks for joining me. We're at the end of November. According to the meteorological calendar, the tropical season is supposed to be done on December 1st. First question, do you think it's going to last into December? This has been an active one, already in the Greek alphabet. What do you guys think?
Regarding hurricane season and tropics, here we are in early December. Oh, we're done. It's done. We've run out of names. Has to be done. Now, usually, with the hurricane season ending in November, it's pretty much about given. If you see anything at all disturbance, I don't see it really getting much more than a depression, tropical storm status at most. I think it's going to be fairly quiet from here on out until early next summer.
Go ahead, Katie.
Well, there's a disturbance, the date that we're recording this, there is a disturbance out in the Atlantic. It has a slight chance of developing. It's moving out over warmer water. It may be subtropical instead of tropical, but it'd be interesting to watch. Could happen.
Gotcha. This has got to be one of the latest seasons that I can remember, but we did have some development in December in recent memory. Let's see, go to Neville, since you worked in a tropical sort of market that had to deal with them.
Yeah, I would think I wouldn't be surprised if we see some storms. The water's still very warm down in the Caribbean. We saw the Hurricane Eta and Iota, how those two followed each other up in difference of a couple of weeks there. And, I still think the water's warm enough with La Nina. I wouldn't be surprised maybe within the first couple of weeks of December to see maybe a little more development, possibly. Hopefully soon after that, the season will be completely shut down. So
nothing surprises me in 2020. Nothing surprises me. Nick, what are you thinking?
That's why I'm saying yes, it's possible. I'm just going to keep that persistent forecasting. It's been active all year, sure. Hopefully it's just a fish storm and it's just out there, away from land and everything. But it fits the bill.
Yep. And so with that information in there, we're already talking about warm water. We're already talking about, since weather starts over water before it moves on land, what do we think December, January, February, in other words, winter this year is going to be like? And this is what Pete had to say.
Why asking me these questions? Oh boy. I love forecasting, but predictions for a winter season, it was, we got quite a bit of a snowfall, a little above average last year. I'm going to go with more of a normal. Reason why, I think we'll get the moisture in here. Temperature wise, I think it's going to keep us closer to, here's what I think. I think we'll squeeze out a couple of inches towards the end of December of snow. And I think your bulk of your snow chances will be January, early February. Instead of the average of 14.5 inches for Kansas City as a calendar year, mostly as those 3 months, I'm going to go with a little below average, actually. I might go about 13 inches as a total of snowfall for this winter season. How's that?
First off, let's preface this with winter forecasting arguably is the hardest type of weather to forecast. I know it's the hardest weather for me to forecast. I mean, to pinpoint how much snow days out that has such an impact on people's plans, it's really difficult. So to forecast 3 months of it, I mean, it's almost insane. It really is. And then when you forecast for 1 point, like we say, okay, we're going to forecast and verify this with KCI, with Kansas City. How many times have we gotten winter storms where the airport gets like 2 inches and Lee Summit gets like 8? Mm-hmm. So it's really hard. I'm going to try and look at it as average snow and average temperature. Are we going to be below average snow or above average snow? That's about as best as I can do. Average is 18.8. You add on the last 5 years, we'll just call it 19, 20 inches average, for the area. I'm just going to go with below average because it's a La Nina year, and we've all dug through a lot of the La Nina, ENSO, La Nina, El Nino. It's warming of the waters off the coast of South America, out there in the Pacific. We get into that, but it's really hard to pick a signal out where it's like, yes, because there's so many other ones. There's so many other, ocean and atmospheric connections that determine it. So I'm just gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna say less than average, but I think we might pick it up in greater chunks. So I think it's going to be like one of those winters where we get big temperature swings. We might get some really warm days relative to December, January, February. We might get some really cold days in there. I don't think it's going to be even keel where we come out of it and people are like, that felt like winter. And like, man, it was kind of warm and then it was really cold. So I think we're going to have those big swings. And when it swings, Busby always talked about that pendulum. When it swings, that's when I think we could get some of the bigger snowstorms, but still, I think we come in under 20 inches. And the other thing before I let it go is I think we might have one severe weather event, either in December, January, or February. Just going back through a lot of the data, there's some support there in a La Nina year, just based off of where the jet stream typically is in a La Nina year across the United States, moisture, wind shear, those type of things need for severe weather. Surprisingly, Missouri has gotten some really big tornado outbreaks in January and February. Not so much in Kansas because you're losing that moisture, but you get a little south, a little east. So I just want to throw that out there too, to not let the guards down with severe weather. It's rare, but it happens, and this type of a winter might be one that we deal with a little bit of severe weather.
Okay. And I want to go in general terms because you're right. I mean, we can be verifying for Lee Summit and wrong for Lee Wood. It's just like that. So in general terms, we're talking more snow than average or less. Are we talking wetter? In other words, are we talking more ice storms, more snowstorms, more frequency, and also temperature? So yeah, let's just keep it general and go from there. So next in line, as far as youth is concerned, would be Neville.
I think, like Nick said, it's really tricky. You look at the maps, the usual continental United States impacts when we have a La Nina. We're kind of right in that equal chances area. You've got the above average temperatures, usually southeast of us. You've got the above average precipitation northwest of us. So we're kind of right in the middle of all that. Even looking at some of our recent winters that we've had a La Nina, some have ranged from less than 10 inches of snow. We've had some where we've had more than 30 inches of snow. So really, it's hard to kind of look at some of those and say, with high confidence, we're exactly going to lie in all of that. But I think just like we've been talking about here, I think we'll certainly see those shots of cold. I think, like Nick mentioned, it may be that we're picking up some of these snow events kind of in fewer but bigger chunks. So I would say probably pretty close to a typical winter for us. So I'd say probably around 18 or 20 inches of snow. Temperatures maybe favoring slightly above average. I know there's some big time cold that's hanging out up in Alaska, up in northern Canada. I think that's going to be, a lot of that'll be bottled up like we saw last winter. But again, when we get those shots of cold, we're going to really know it. So I think kind of like Nick mentioned, one of those winters where maybe not so bad, but when we get cold, you'll definitely know that cold is here. And when we get the snow, it may certainly cause some impacts.
Sweet. Katie Horner.
Yes.
What are you thinking?
Well, I have spent so much time doing exactly what Neville's talked about. I pulled up all of our El Nino years and La Nina years and looked at what kind of winters we had, and it's equal. In the last time we had water temperatures like this in the Pacific, at least the last 8 times, Kansas City has had 4 winters with above average. So it splits right down the middle. I looked at just the past 20 years, and we've had 8 out of the 20 have more than average snowfall. And that's really not statistically enough to say, I think it's going to do that again. So I'm going to stick with you guys and say somewhere around average. I wrote down 20 inches. I am a little bit concerned with the jet stream pattern that sets up in this La Nina. We're going to have that polar jet coming down from Alaska, coming right down into eastern Missouri. And Nick, to your point, with the increased moisture in eastern Missouri, western Kentucky, Tennessee, Illinois, Arkansas, that combination could set up to make for a severe weather event at some point during the winter.
All right. So in conclusion, we're thinking close to normal snowfall, anywhere from 18 to 20. We're thinking smaller outbreaks. In other words, less frequent outbreaks, but when they happen, they could be bigger snowstorms or bigger storms in general. And to Nick's point, some of those could even teeter on more springtime as we're going from winter to spring And some of those could have some severe weather in events as well. So now the question is, do you think we could ever see thunder snow this season?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
That's always fun.
You know, and also you started this, Brian, by asking about ice. This is a setup for ice. So we're
Mhm.
going to have to really be watching that closely.
So although, yeah, we may get 18 inches of snow, some of the precip we get this winter could be in either mix or sleet or even ice. So yeah, something to
Mhm.
worry about.
Mhm.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time. As we all said, 2020 has been one of those years we just want it to be done with. Nothing surprises us, as Nick said. And when you think you've seen it all, you haven't.